Okay, so today we're going to talk about rationalizing the denominator. Remember, the denominator is the bottom of a fraction. So if you have a problem and you get something like 3 over the square root of 5 as your answer, it's a 5. You can't have a square root in the denominator. If you do, then you can't have that as your answer. You have to simplify it. So to get rid of a square root in a denominator, you're going to multiply the top and bottom of both by whatever the denominator is. So it's square root of 5, so we're going to multiply top and bottom by square root of 5. Square root of 5 times square root of 5. What is 5 times 5? Gives you the square root of 25. What is 3 times the square root of 5? You just get 3 square roots of 20 by 5. What is the square root of 25? It's 5. So you get 3 times the square root of 5, that's a 5, over 5, and now you no longer have a square root in your denominator, so you can have that as an answer. So that works as your answer. Anytime you're simplifying these, you can't have the square root as your denominator. So anytime you see that, you're going to have to do something called rationalizing the denominator, and you have to get rid of that square root. So let's try another one. What if I have 7 on top of the square root of 3? Can you have 7? Can you have that as an answer? 7 over square root of 3? No, you can't. You can't have 7 over square root of 3. Okay, so how do I get rid of the square root of 3? You're going to have to multiply the top and bottom by square root of 3. Square root was 3 times 3, you get the square root of 9. And 7 times square root of 3 is 7, square root of 3. But what is the square root of 9? It gives me a 3. And that's 7 square root of 3. So that's what your final answer is going to be after you simplify it. Now here, let me give you one to try. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try, we'll try on the top, I'm going to put a 5, on the bottom I'm going to do square root of 2. So pause your video and try this example. Okay, so we have to rationalize the denominator, so we have to get rid of our square root of 2. So multiply by square root of 2 on the top and bottom. 2 times 2 gives me 4, so I have square root of 4. Top is 5 times the square root of 2. But what is the square root of 4? It's 2. So I get 5 times the square root of 2 over 2. Now there's also some special cases that go along with this. First type of special case is going to be, like, let's say the top is a 6 and the denominator is square root of 2. So go ahead and try to rationalize this one. So we're going to multiply the top and bottom by square roots of 2. So I get 6 square roots of 2 on top, and on the bottom I get the square root of 4, which simplifies to 2. Now once you do this, the 6 and the 2 are both even numbers. You can simplify these. You can never simplify the inside of the square root with something, but you can simplify the outside of the square root with something. So the 6 and the 2 both are going to reduce. I'm going to divide them by 2. So your final answer turns out to be 3 times the square root of 2. And you can put it either over 1, or you can just have 3 square roots of 2. Either one of those would work. You could have either one for your final answer. Okay? Well, we've got one more type we've got to talk about. We've got to talk about something, one other topic, and it's called a conjugate. A conjugate all a conjugate is just going to be the opposite. It's just going to be the opposite of what you It's just going to be the opposite of what you have. So for this one with our conjugate, if I give you let's say I give you 4 plus the square root of 7. The conjugate is going to be 4 minus the square root of 7. So if I give you, and your denominator is 4 plus the square root of 7 on the bottom of a fraction, we're going to have to get rid of that. So to do that, you're going to multiply it by the conjugate. Kind of like how we used to do first, outside, inside, last. But since they're opposites, all you have to do is do 4 squared minus square root of 7 squared. So what is 4 squared? 16. Square root of 7 times square root of 7 gives you square root of 49, which is what? Square root of 49 would be 7. And 16 minus 7 is what? 9. So all you're doing is you're going to take you take your two numbers and put them here and you square them. And you put a minus sign in between. The middle term is going to cancel out because this one's a plus and this one's a minus. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try another one. Let's try square root of 3 plus c. So if you have square root of 3 plus c, what's your conjugate going to be? It's going to be square root of 3 minus c. So all you're going to do is write down what the first term is, square root of 3, and you're going to square it, put your minus sign, and then you're going to take what your last two terms are, and you're going to square it. What is 3 times 3? It's 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. And then c squared is just going to stay c squared. So you take what the first term is and you write it down and you square it and put a minus sign. You take what the second term is, you write it down and you square it. You simplify if you have a square root, you keep your minus. Now if you end up with two numbers, you subtract them. If you end up with a number and a letter, you leave it like it is. Here you go, let me give you one to try. We'll do 3 plus square root of 5. So pause it, try this one, and then we'll see how you do. Okay, so you're going to do 3 minus square roots of 5, because that's your conjugate. Your conjugate's the opposite sign, same numbers. So now you're going to write down what the first term is, put a minus, put what the second term is, and 3 squared is 9, put your minus. 5 times 5 is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. And 9 minus 5 is 4. Now the way you're going to use this is you're going to use this if they give you a problem. Let's say your answer turns out to be 1 over 5. What am I going to put there? Plus square root of x. I can't have that as my answer because it has a square root in the denominator. Since it has a square root in the denominator, I'm going to have to use my conjugate. My conjugate is going to be 5 minus square roots of x. Okay, so that's going to be my conjugate, 5 minus square roots of x. So now that I have that, So I'm gonna have to multiply the top and bottom both by that. So the top turns out to be 5 minus square root of x, because you multiply that times 1. The bottom, I'm gonna have my 5's squared, with my minus sign, and then I have square root of x squared. So what is x times x? X squared, and then whenever you do the square root of that, they cancel each other out. Remember, these two are opposites. So I get 5 minus square root of x on top, and the bottom I get 25 minus x. Now you cannot simplify these anymore, because this is a binomial and this is a binomial, because there's two terms with a minus sign or plus sign in between, so that's just going to stay your answer. Okay, so let me give you one of these to try. One over x plus the square root of 3. Okay, so try this one. Pause it and try this one and see what you do. So to solve it, we're going to have to multiply the top and bottom by x minus square root of 3. So you get x minus square root of 3 on top, because you multiply that times 1. The bottom, you're going to have your x squared, a minus, and then square root of 3 squared. Well, so what is 3 times 3? It's 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. So I get x minus the square root of 3 over x squared minus 3.